Bel looks at the Storm, who continue their winning ways here in their historic homestand.
Yeah, they're now on a win streak of 4 games. They played the Liberty on the 27th, and that was a win of 79-71 in overtime. That ended at 67-67 in regulation, and then they had to go into overtime there. Fortunately won. We have player of the game, Breanna Stewart, with 31 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block. And that is Stewie's first 30-point performance of the season. So looking forward to seeing more. On the 29th, they once again played the Liberty. That was not what was expected, considering that overtime win. They won that one 92-61, completely dominant. The player of the game there was Jewell Loyd with 22 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. And this is Seattle's 8 game homestand. It's continuing, and they're tied for the longest in WNBA history with those 8 games. So moving on to some injury news here. On the 26th, Steph Talbot is announced out for the May 27th game against the Liberty with health and safety protocols. And not long after that, the next day, we have some more injury news against the Liberty. Again, for the 27th, Mercedes Russell would be out, of course, with that non-basketball injury. Steph Talbot would be out with health and safety protocols. And then Sue Bird and Ezzy McBagor were also announced as out with health and safety protocols. On the 29th, the same 4 were out: Mercedes Russell, Steph Talbot, Sue Bird, and Ezzy McBagor. And then it goes without saying that they stepped up in that hardship of having so many players out, a Sue Bird out, an Ezzy out. So just, what did you see overall in that overtime win that stood out to you?
I'd say in both games, Breanna January and Jantel Lavender, 2 veterans who have been around the league a long time. It's January's last season in the W. Both filled into those roles really well. In the second game, Jantel, I thought, had a better performance. Obviously, the double-double, first of any Storm player this season. But she had a good inside presence. Was calm down inside, playing against Natasha Howard, who was great, former Storm player. Stephanie Dolson, experienced veteran, played well inside. And it just kind of seemed like those other players did step up. Kiana Williams did not get as many minutes in that first game, but it was kind of tough. The Storm felt like they were kind of building in the first half, which was kind of surprising. Normally that juice kicks in the third period. But then it kind of just were giving up shots and shots and shots as the season, the third quarter was the biggest. I think they were outscored 9 points in the third quarter, and just things couldn't play well down low as the end of the game reached it. And then it was kind of Stewie throughout that game just continued to attack the rim, and just kind of took over in overtime. That's what I saw in that game. But it was really interesting to see that obviously lose Sue Bird, who near the top of the league in assists, obviously isn't bringing you as much in terms of points, but also Ezzy and Ted that she's been on, that's a big loss there.
Yes.
Even Steph Talbot, these are all important players, so a key point that was made, I think, even when you were there, it was brought up then and it was brought up again, was having these players fly commercial, and then not having like a G League, like a practice player spot, so that they can have these players with the organization, with the system, be familiar, be able to come up, like when the Mariners call guys up from Tacoma, to be able to fill in for this. Because you said I had to sign Kayla Davis to a hardship contract, had to bring in Kiana Williams, had to have her pack her bags immediately. These are difficult situations to put people in. You're basically on call. So it was really, obviously props to those players who had to sign hardship contracts and fill in. But this is a situation with the W that needs to be resolved.
Yes, and several players, I think, Jewell Loyd spoke up on it. So, yes, definitely. Moving on here for team notes, since we've covered that Kiana Williams and Kayla Davis were signed to a hardship contract here, I'll move on to our other news. Storm President CEO Alicia Valavanis named Seattle Sports Leader of the Year. The award, which was handed out this year for the first time since 2012, recognizes a leader whose efforts have demonstrated significant and positive impact within a sports organization or the Washington sports community. Valavanis has guided the Seattle Storm through a monumental year as a team returns to the Seattle Center and the newly renovated Climate Pledge Arena. Valavanis has been instrumental in the Storm's recently announced training facility, which, when completed in 2024, will be the only practice facility dedicated for the exclusive use of a WNBA team. She has also overseen the growth of the Storm's Force for Change program, the franchise's comprehensive social justice platform, which allows the Storm to be a force to affect meaningful change in Seattle. So congratulations to her, and it's well-deserved. Moving on to some league notes here. On the 24th, the Washington Mystics hold a media blackout in protest of gun control due to the mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas. They did step up to the podium, but they just said, we're doing a media blackout. We don't agree with the way things are currently, and so we want change, in more words than that.
Yeah.
So again, just like you said, it's interesting to see just different players, different leagues stepping up and speaking up about gun control. On the 25th, we have a kind of update on Brittany Griner. It has been more than 100 days since Brittany Griner. Yeah. Since Brittany Griner was detained. So her wife spoke of the situation and states that she hasn't gotten the chance to speak to Brittany Griner very much. And she called to action President Biden because she believes that he is the only one who can go get her. And honestly, we all follow behind her, I think. So she said, you can say she's top priority, but I want to see it. So hopefully we do see something changing here.
Actions do speak louder than words.
They do.
So
yeah. So the Storm sit at a 5-3 standing. They're third in the Western Conference. And looking ahead, we have a June 3rd matchup versus the Dallas Wings at 7 p.m. and a June 5th versus the Connecticut Sun at 3 p.m. So that about wraps up the WNBA.